Hey everybody, today we're going to continue working on our 3Racing crawler kit. And as you can see, today's electronics day. We're going to be installing all of these electronics into the chassis. Start with the Hobbywing 1060 ESC. I have a standard size servo and a low profile servo for the gear changes. And I have the FlySky receiver and radio right here. And this kit already came with a 540 motor, and of course I'm going to be hooking it up to the ProTech LiPo battery. So let me get started. All right, the first step to installing electronics is always to test everything first, so you don't install everything, mount them on the chassis just to find out that they don't work. So I have the FlySky GT3B here. Yours will vary, but in general, channel 1 is usually your steering servo, so that's what I'm going to be hooking up right now. And channel 2 is your ESC. Channel 3 is the bind, and also going to run my gear servo. So I've already binded this to the radio, so I know that's working. So you have to do that with your own controller first, and then plug the gear shift servo to channel 3. Then I'm going to connect the motor to the ESC, and the last step is to connect the power. All right, I'm going to turn on the radio and turn on the car. Let's go ahead and test the steering servo first. That's working. Next, I'm going to test the gear shift servo. My channel 3 is just toggle on off. So when I put this in there, I need to figure out what state I'm going to start in, either low gear or high gear first, and then I know whenever I press that button, it's going to be the other. All right, so that works. Next, I'm going to test the throttle. I'm going to pick this up a little bit and then pull the trigger here. All right, I know everything's working. Motor is spinning, and it's spinning all 4 wheels. Looking good. So now we can work on putting all the electronics onto the chassis. The next step is to put these servo horns on both of the servos. And for this step, I like to turn on the radio and also the car with the servo plugged in. That way I can make sure the trim is at 0 when I install it. And both of my servos are 25 tooth. You can find either 24 or 23, whatever servo you happen to install. So I'm going to put that on there. Use the 8mm screw. Tighten that. And now for the steering servo, there is a ball stud, which is going to connect to the steering link. All right, it's looking good. Okay, now let's look at the other one. And for the gear servo, I'm going to do the same thing. I know this is going to be either in one position or the other. So I'm going to put this on. Put on the screw. Then I'm going to put on the shift nut from the back and a hex nut on this side. Okay, and there we go. Right, the next step has a lot of parts. I want to just talk about them real quick. You have this pin here, and you have the shift arm. This shift arm was actually in a previous bag. I think it was bag 3. So don't panic if you can't find this. Just go back to your remaining parts from the previous bags and look for this. And you have 2 of these collars and 2 of these washers, these flathead screws. These 2 springs were actually in the big bag, in bag 6. 2 set screws and a tiny E-clip. So with that, now we can go ahead and start. All right, I think I'm going to get this shift arm onto here first as the first step. And then put the E-clip on there. I think it's going to be harder to do this step once everything else is in there. Let me do that first. And now that I have that on there, I'm going to mount the servo. Next, I'm going to thread this pin through the servo saver. Have a spring behind that. Thread this through the arm. And then take this collar. And let me put a set screw in that collar first. I think it's going to be about the same on both sides. I'm just going to test it first before I move forward. Make sure it works. I took a little calibrating, but I have it ready now. So let me turn it on and show you what it looks like and how to test it. So I have this in one position. Let me change it to the other position and lift the car up. Make sure the wheels are spinning. And there we go. So we're on a battery tray. I'm going to be using the standard size battery. So I'm going to go with page 20 instructions. And make sure you have the 6mm screws and the logo side down. All right, when you're done, it should look something like this. So 1 screw here. Let's test fit the battery. This drops in. Actually, it's going to be a little weird because of the wire. The wire on this is right in the middle. Let me try a different battery. All right, here's a different battery, and that works well. The wires are coming from the side, so I guess that matters. And we're going to put this O-ring, actually feels more like a rubber band, and lock that in. All right, it's pretty secure. Looks good. Let's see if a 3S battery will fit. Certainly fits in the tray. And the O-ring will stretch, so I can use a 3S battery as well. Next is to build a receiver box. It's a little bit of a first for me because this is supposed to house the ESC and the receiver, and actually don't know how that's going to work. It would mean I would have to cut this wire just to fit it through this hole here, and the motor wires I need to get those through there. And it's going to be encased. I've never had an ESC inside a box before, and I have to go through cutting wires and kind of looming it through this hole here. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'll just put the receiver in there and then set the ESC on top for now. If I see any benefits to having it inside, I will do so later. But I'm not going to drive this in the water. I don't think it needs to be waterproof for me. And I just don't like the fact that it's going to be something this hot. It's going to be inside a enclosed space. So that's what I'm going to do. First step is to cut a cross shape into this. I'm going to cap the back. I'm not going to cut a slit into that. I'm only going to cut the front. All right, now I got 3 wires I need to thread through here. All right, here's something I do with every receiver. I put a heat shrink tube onto the folded wires and I tape it to the side of the receiver. A lot neater to manage, and since this is a crawler, range isn't too much of an issue. So, and I also have a piece of double-sided tape on the back, and I'm going to set this in place and then plug everything back in. Hey, I forgot a step earlier in the video. I don't know if anybody caught it. If you did, leave a comment below. Let me know you did. I forgot to mount the steering servo. It's a little bit hard to see in the manual, but they do want you to snap this into place like so. And that's it. All right, so after playing around with different configurations with the ESC, I decided the best way to do this is just to put the ESC here but not close the lid. That way I don't have to cut this, I don't have to solder a new connector, and I don't have to worry about overheating. Again, I'm not going to run this in water, so I'm not too concerned about it being watertight. So that's it. I have all the electronics in place. In the next video, we're going to work on the wheels and the body posts, and then we're done. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like. Subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.